Hi, welcome to Triangle Spotlight. I'm Suzanne Lynn, and joining me today, very special lady, Laurie Stern from Bethany Christian Services here in Florida. And Laurie, okay, see, I wasn't kidding. Take dose. Do. The director's going, do. All right, 3, 2, and 1. Hi, welcome to Triangle Spotlight. I'm Suzanne Lynn. Joining us today, very special lady from Bethany Christian Services in Florida. Her name is Laurie Stern. Laurie, welcome. Glad that you're here today.
Thank you, Suzanne. I'm so glad to be here and to talk with you about the services we provide.
And you asked me if we want to really focus, because you offer so many different services. You asked me which one I want to focus on. And before we get into which one I selected, why don't you share about Bethany and what all those services are?
Sure. So Bethany Christian Services has been around for 75 years. We're in 30 different states, 12 different countries, and the services that we provide are just stellar social services, human services that are meeting the needs of families and children everywhere. So locally in Florida, we offer 6 different services. A lot of our services are free. Actually, all of our services are free to our clients that we serve. So those vulnerable families that are in need of services can get these at no cost to them. So the first service we provide is adoption services.
These and that's the one. That's what I relate with Bethany. That's the first one. Like you do more than adoption? That's cool. Okay.
When we say Bethany, that's the first thing everyone thinks of. They immediately think of adoption, which is how we started. So 75 years ago, that's how we started. Our ministry was really brought forth by 2 women that wanted to make a difference in the world. And they wanted to make sure that children were cared for and loved. And that's how our ministry is based. So we started providing services for domestic infant adoption. These are those families moms that are making those really tough decisions and facing those unplanned pregnancies and not sure what to do. They have another option. They have an option of saying, okay, it's a difficult option. It's very hard. And our families that choose adoption services, what you find is that most of them are open adoptions. These are integrated families that moms that make those really hard choices are able to really integrate with their adoptive family. And it's not co-parenting, but it's definitely something that they have an extended relationship and a lifelong relationship. Along with that service is pregnancy counseling. So pregnancy counseling is a free service. It's something that we provide to any mom or dad that's facing an unplanned pregnancy, that they are worried about what their next step's really going to be and not sure what they're going to do. And we walk along beside them to say, we're here. Let us provide some counseling to you. Let us talk to you about your options. And that's really just hold your hand in this process. Our counselors are amazing. They get involved with the women and the men that they work with, and they really provide ministry to these moms that are facing this. That's our number. That's something people don't think of. When you hear about adoption services, you don't realize the other aspect of what adoption really is. It's a mom or a dad making a really difficult decision. And last year in Florida, we had 18 adoptions, but we worked with over 70 moms. So it kind of shows you, yes, and all those moms chose life. So it's really valuable when you think about the service that we provide in the pregnancy counseling. A lot of individuals think that we're pushing the motive of adoption. Never. Our motive is to care for the family and to provide them the options and the areas of case management to say, you can do this, you can parent, and let us help you and show you how you can do that.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. So our other big service that we provide locally is transitional foster care. So you hear about the kiddos that are coming to the border and you hear about what's happening at the border. And Bethany really wanted to serve those needs, and they really wanted to step into those hard spots to say, we love children and we're going to help and we're going to serve those children. So what we're providing is safe places for kids in foster care while they're coming to the United States and seeking sponsorship. So most of the kiddos that come to the border, when you hear about them, it's kind of confusing. Where are these kids coming from? How do they get here? Yeah, it's really confusing. And what you need to realize is the kids are coming by themselves. Kids that are anywhere from 6 to 18 years old are coming primarily on their own. They're making this journey on their own because they're fleeing poverty. They're fleeing crisis. They're fleeing violence. They're fleeing all sorts of things.
They're not coming with adults?
Some are coming with adults, but what we work with are those unaccompanied minors. We're working with those kiddos that are coming with no one. They know where they're going though. That's the pretty cool part, is that the kids know.
How?
Yeah. So
I'm just blown away. I don't even know what questions to start to ask. This is so fun to me.
Yeah. So they know where they're going. A lot of times what you find is that a parent will come here first, will come to the United States first, and they'll make a future for themselves. They'll start preparing for their family to come here. And then you'll eventually see a child or another adult come, and that's what you see a lot of. Or you'll see maybe a brother that then the younger sibling wants to come and be with the brother here. It's amazing when you hear their stories. Oh, Suzanne, their stories just it will move mountains. It will make hearing a child share their story about what they're fleeing from, the poverty they're facing, the violence that they're facing, the gangs that are knocking on their doors. It will change anybody's hearts when you hear those stories from these kiddos.
Can imagine.
So yeah, so what we're doing is we're finding foster homes. We're licensing through the Department of Children and Families, and we're placing kiddos in safe places while we make sure the families that they're going to in the United States are safe. We want to make sure there's no concerns of trafficking. We want to make sure that these are safe places for the kiddos to go and to seek their asylum cases. The kids are seeking asylum. They're seeking citizenship in the United States. Yeah.
Profound.
I know it's a lot. And then the other service we provide, in addition to all those amazing services, is our Safe Families. So Safe Families is a ministry of recognizing that years ago, families used to be able to depend on each other. There used to be kinship that you would have if somebody fell on hard times. For example, right now with the coronavirus, thinking about this, families they don't have the connectivity that they used to have years ago, that you could call upon your family and ask for assistance. Hey, I lost my job. I'm living in a car. I don't know what to do. You would have families step into those hard spots.
Sure.
Doesn't happen as much anymore. So what Safe Families is, we step into those hard spots. We have approved caregivers, not foster parents, because these individuals are completely volunteers. They receive no stipend through the state. They receive no stipends through anybody. They do this out of the goodness of their hearts to make sure families stay together. So they take kiddos into their home while a family is facing a temporary crisis, short-term homelessness, mental health, medical. You find a lot of parents that might have medical concerns that just need a pause. They need a temporary break, a pause to get back on their feet. And that's what this ministry is. And it saves so many children from going into foster care. And it eliminates the need for families to have to get involved in the foster care system. Because once you get involved in that, it's hard to kind of dig your way back out of it.
I'm sure. And what an opportunity. I mean, you're keeping these children not just intact with their family, but you're keeping them out of the direct line of fire of the problems that are going on, the financial, the medical things that are going on. So they can have just a normal childhood for a little while until things get back to normal.
Yes, it's very short term. These are very short term cases. 30 to up to 90 days about is what we find, because if it was something that was longer term, you might find that that's something more appropriate for the foster care system. But these are really short-term, acute little crises that happen that they happen, and families they fall on hard times. And I think that it's something with Safe Families right now and what's going on in the world, it's something that could be utilized in a lot of different ways. So it's pretty amazing. And then our fifth program is we call it our Safe Passages. So it's for those kiddos that are coming to the border. They're reunified locally in Florida. We provide case management services to those families. So those kiddos that are going and they're reunified with a sponsor, they might need help understanding how to get them enrolled in education. They need help understanding what are the laws in America, what's required of me, what's the law in regards to kids being in school. Maybe it's something they need help with medical needs. A child has a medical concern. We're linking them up with services, mental health counseling, food stamps, just understanding the process. And then, of course, the legality, helping them make sure that they have legal services as well so they can work on those asylum cases.
Wow. You must have like 2,000 people working for Bethany, right? For all those services?
Well, locally, we have about 20. So all those
20,
services.
well, I missed a couple zeros. That sounds like you need a huge staff. I don't know how you handle it.
as any nonprofit, the work that our staff do is probably one staff member probably would do five positions in for-profit America. So it's something that we wear many different hats, and we love doing it because the work that we do, we understand the meaning behind it. We understand the necessity. And when you see the smiles on faces of families and children, you know it's worth it.
You are making such a difference in what you're doing. I mean, we all make a difference in some way, but like you guys are really making a difference. Like you are keeping families intact. You're making life bearable and better for families. Thank you. I mean, I had no idea. I don't want to cut you off. Were there more services? Because I want to get to the one we want to talk about. But I want to make sure that everybody knows the scope of what you're doing.
Yeah. We truly believe families change everything. And everyone should have the availability of, just because you fall on hard times or you're from another country doesn't mean that changes the fact that families matter. And with a family, you can do anything. And we truly believe that. Our ministry truly, at the core of what we do, we believe in that mission of helping the least of those because they deserve it, because they absolutely deserve it.
They sure do.
Yeah.
Laurie, as we talk about the topic that I selected to spend a little bit more time on, I guess it would be best known, I don't know if there's a more political proper way of saying, human trafficking,
right.
The survivors of not just sexual, but you've been talking about work trafficking too. I mean, what is the world of trafficking that you need to kind of fill in the gaps for?
Sure. So we have a program, it's called the TVAP, which stands for the Trafficking Victim Assistance Program. So we are our niche when it comes to trafficking is to work with foreign-born nationals. These are individuals that aren't born in the United States. They're not citizens of the United States, which brings them to the likelihood of being trafficked is even higher. The rate of the concern for this population is really high. And what you find with trafficking, when you hear trafficking, everybody automatically thinks what you had mentioned, sex trafficking. That's the first thing that everybody thinks of.
Sure.
And that absolutely is a problem. And you find that it's a huge problem. Florida is the third state in the United States, the highest state, the third in the United States for trafficking. That's a huge problem. And a lot of it is because we're surrounded by water. It's easy to get individuals in and out of Florida.
Sure.
And you find trafficking being a huge concern. Especially sex trafficking, but labor trafficking is something that isn't really understood. Individuals don't really understand what labor trafficking, and really trafficking at the core of it is coercion. It's coercion. It's taking individuals and forcing them to do something that they didn't know they were going to do, and it's holding them to it. A lot of individuals that get involved in trafficking, they don't know how to get out because they're stuck. Traffickers are very savvy. It's very manipulative of how traffickers know how to make individuals feel like they're nothing. They're not worthy. You will get in trouble. You belong to me. You owe me. So those are all things that are survivors. And we call them survivors because they are. When you are rescued out of trafficking, you are a survivor. You survived something that you don't know what would have happened had someone not stepped into that really hard place. And go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, are most of the people who are taken as victims, I mean, are they physically being restrained, or is it more of a mental, emotional that they're being manipulated into staying in the situation?
It can be both. With sex trafficking, you find it's more of a coercion based on force, whereas with labor trafficking, it's coercion based on they take everything. So a lot of times individuals will come to the United States with the knowledge of, okay, I'm going to make a better life and I'm going to find something. And then they realize, okay, this is really hard. And then they get themselves into a situation where a trafficker takes their visa, they take their documentation, they take everything. And what you find with labor trafficking is that even though a trafficker might be making, we just had a rescue mission of working with some survivors. And what ended up happening is that the trafficker was making $16 to $17 an hour, but the survivors were only getting about $6 an hour for their work. So those are, and they don't know how to escape. They don't know, they're dependent on that, even though it's not right. They're dependent on that. So they don't know what to do once they get in that situation.
Well, they're completely vulnerable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And especially being a foreign-born survivor, being someone from another country coming here, you're so scared automatically of getting caught, being deported, going back. And sometimes they think, well, what I'm enduring now is better than what I would endure back there. So I'm going to accept it. And most of the time they don't realize they're survivors. They don't realize that the situation is wrong. And that's where we come in and we provide that trauma-informed care, providing that trauma-focused therapy to them, letting them know that they are safe, letting them know that they're valued, letting them know that we care for them, and then connecting them in the community, connecting them with resources. The first thing that we do, our referrals come mainly from law enforcement. We're very connected with law enforcement, MBI, Homeland Security, ICE. We're very connected with those organizations so that when they're going in, we're in the trenches, when they're going in and rescuing an individual, we're the first person they call in those situations to come and provide that case management. The first thing we focus on is safety, making sure that they are safe, getting them away from the trafficker, making sure that they have the means to stay away, setting them up in a hotel, setting them up with a friend, setting them up in a shelter, and then providing those case management services to make sure they have their needs met, having medical, mental health, physical needs met, and then working with them with legal services to get them so that they're no longer ever reliant on someone again, because we are helping them with their legal services as well. And it's all free.
Gosh.
This is all 100% free to the client. It has to be, because if we were asking for some sort of fee in return, they'd have to return right back to the same situation. And we don't want anybody to get back in one of those situations. So this is 100%. We work with the United States Committee of Refugees and Immigrants, USCRI, is who we're contracted through. And they provide us with monies to assist the victims. But a lot of what we do is reliant on donations and reliant on community members really giving back to the community and helping this population.
I feel like we're just scratching the surface. Like, I cannot believe we're already 18 minutes into this interview, because I mean, there's so much more to find out. The yellow flags, what can we do? But I mean, as far as how we can help you, because you've got the system, you've got the workers, you've got the knowledge and the relationships and the network. How can we support you? Obviously, dollars, donations, huge. Is there an opportunity for volunteers? Sharing information? Do you have meetings? I mean, how can we get more educated on what you're doing?
Yeah, a lot of the community is getting in contact with us. We do have a website that's specific for this interview today. So it's www.bethany.org/WQBQ. So that's our website that's going to tell individuals a little bit more about each of the programs, not just trafficking, but each of the other programs I discussed as well. A little bit more about Bethany. The main thing with trafficking, unfortunately, we do not have volunteer opportunities. And the reason is because of confidentiality. They are the survivors that we work with, they have been used by so many individuals and abused, that we want to build that trust relationship with them to make sure that they feel trust with us. That's the number one thing with us. They feel safe, and then they can trust us to help them. So the biggest thing is helping with community resources, creating survivor backpacks, that when we go and meet with law enforcement the first time, having some sort of survivor backpack that we can provide survivors that have basic necessities. When you go and meet the individuals for the first time, they traditionally have nothing except for the clothes in their back. When we're rescuing individuals from either sex trafficking or labor trafficking, they don't have time to get their belongings necessarily, or they might not even have any belongings. So they're being rescued with nothing. When we're setting up in a hotel, they traditionally have no belongings of their own. So even basic hygiene packets, shampoo, conditioner, necessities such as underwear, clothes, shoes. I mean, there's so many different ways of getting involved with giving when it comes to the donations for the individuals. A lot of agencies could do backpack drives. If they wanted to get involved, do a backpack drive, do a hygiene drive, do a shoe drive. There's so many different drives that we could do that could really help this population. Of course, like having gift cards are always helpful. So even doing a gift card drive, having Walmart gift cards that the survivors can be taken to Walmart and they can buy their own things, which creates a sense of ownership on their own versus being, a lot of our survivors, they have such a sense of pride that it's hard for them sometimes to even take some of the things that we're providing. So just having that little bit that they can go and pick out their own clothes or pick out their own groceries. We connect them with all sorts of community resources like food pantries. Catholic Charities is an amazing organization that helps us a lot. But there's so much more that we could do when it comes to even letting them go and shopping on their own to get groceries. So there's really, if there's a will, there's a way. If someone has a heart to help the population, there's going to be a way to do that.
And everything that you're doing is on a foundation of faith. We need to wrap up with that. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. So that's our ministry. We're Bethany Christian Services. We have Christian in our name. The reason we do the things is because we believe that, much like Jesus Christ loved the least of these, he didn't hang out with individuals that were millionaires. He didn't hang out with those individuals. Who he hang out with? He hung out with the individuals that needed the most help. And we truly believe in that. We truly believe in the ministry of helping and serving the least of these and walking beside them to make sure that they have a chance at a future. Because it might be one individual that we're planting a seed, but it's a generation. This is a generation that's helped because of one person in a family that's assisted in the moment. So it's generational. We recognize that there's so many amazing ministries in the United States, but these are ministries that continue to change and evolve. Bethany is an organization that recognizes where we need to go. We're going to go on those hard spots. We're going to take our Christian faith and we're going to expand it to include everybody, to make sure that everybody has access to the services that they deserve. And because we love people.
You can tell. Laurie, thank you so much. And like I said, I wish we had so much more time, but Bethany.org/WQBQ. Laurie, thank you so much for sharing. And I had no idea the broad world of service that you guys offer. Thank you so much from the bottom of all our hearts. So thank you. Be well, and we'll talk again, okay?
Thank you. Take care. Thanks, Suzanne. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the show. We hope that you enjoyed it. Having digital marketing for your product or organization is so crucial these days. People are ditching traditional advertising like print and broadcast commercials and turning to relationship marketing platforms like YouTube and podcasts that people can consume on demand on their time. Let's talk about how we can build your digital library with segments just like this.